Hi, and welcome to Your Inside Power. My name's Patricia Stepler, and I'm going to be sharing with you how you can use the information and the powers that you have, your intellectual faculties that you have inside of you to create the life that you truly want. Now, the last few episodes, and you may have to go back, several of them, have been talking about this book by Genevieve Behrend called Your Invisible Power. And so I'm going to continue with this book. We're just about finished with it, but there's some important parts that I, don't want you to miss as we've been talking about the inside powers and how to go about using them to transform your life into the life that you really want. You have the ability to do that. So few of us really realize it. And most people just move through life, allowing whatever happens to happen, but you don't have to do it that way. You see, you've got the power inside of you to create the life that you truly want. And whether you realize it or not, everything that has happened to you, you have caused. And sometimes that seems like a hard cookie to swallow, but it's true. And we'll say, but I didn't want this to happen in my life. No, you didn't. But you see, your thoughts and your words and your actions are extremely powerful. And that's what we're talking about today. The words you say, the thoughts you think, the things you do. So let's get into Your Invisible Power with Genevieve. We're into chapter 11, and it says here, in your every word, there is a power germ that expands and projects itself in the direction your word indicates, and ultimately develops into physical expression. So if everything you say, every thought you have is like this seed that's about to germinate, just like a plant will grow. If that is the case, then we have to be very, very careful about the words that we say, the thoughts we have, and the actions we do, because everything has a consequence. Your words have a consequence. Your actions have a consequence. Your thoughts have a consequence. You have to realize that no matter what it is, you will have a consequence. So she gives the example if you say the word joy and just repeat it over and over, joy, 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 joy. You start to feel whatever that word expresses to you. And if joy means happy and feeling good and feeling gratitude and, brings connotations of good things, then good things will start to happen. Now, if joy doesn't have that kind of connotation to you, then it will go to whatever your thoughts are. Okay. And she says here, mental faculties always work under something which stimulates them. And this stimulus may come either from without through the external senses or from within by the consciousness of something not perceptible on the physical plane. So, mental faculties. We have 6 mental faculties. We have imagination, which is so powerful. We have intuition. We have memory. We have reason. We have will. And when we combine all those things together, we can start to develop something very exciting. Oh, I forgot one. Perception. Okay. So those are 6 mental faculties. Sorry, I only gave you 5 there first. What she's saying is that when we use them, in the first part, she says, when we work under them and stimulate them, things will come to us. Or if we don't use them, then we're kind of allowing on the outside world to do things for us. She said the recognition of this interior source, those 6 mental faculties of stimulus, enables you to bring into your consciousness any state you desire. Once a thing seems normal to you, it is usually yours through the law of growth and attraction. So once it seems normal, see, that's the biggest problem there. We want something, we desire something, but we don't believe we can get it. We don't believe we can accomplish it. We don't believe we can be that person. And so it doesn't feel normal to us. But when we change who we are, then and only then can we bring that thing into our lives. You see, if you desire something, but you don't change you, the chances of it happening are nearly impossible. And that's why personal growth, learning new things, being able to incorporate that into your life is so vital to everything you do. I just want to see if I can find this quick passage. Oh, here it is. So I was just looking at another book, and this makes it very clear because this one's based very much on scientific information. And it says here, it's talking about positive thinking. And it says, I want to be clear that by itself, positive thinking never works. Many so-called positive thinkers have felt negative most of their lives. And now they're trying to think positively, just trying to switch that switch and try to think positive instead of thinking negative. They're in a polarized state in which they're trying to think one way in order to override how they feel inside. They consciously think one way, but they are being the opposite. When the mind and the body are in opposition, change will never happen. So when you have a desire, when there's something that you really want, but inside of you, you don't believe you can have it. So let's say you want that new job, and that new job is just something you've always desired. Maybe it's the head of a company or head of a department, and you've always desired it, but you don't see yourself as being worthy or being able to do that. And you give yourself all kinds of excuses. I don't have the education. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too this. I'm too that. And so you make all these excuses and you limit your ability to get there. So even though you desire it, on the inside, you're saying, I'll never get it. So when that's in opposition, it's never going to happen. You have to be aligned with who you are. And we call that praxis. When you are totally aligned with the goal and who you are. And when you become totally aligned with you and your goal, it surely will happen. So Genevieve goes on here. I think I skipped a page. She says, once the recognition of the interior source of stimulus enables you to bring your consciousness into that state of desire, once things seem normal to you, then it will happen. And she says, this method of repeating the word, like joy, makes the word in all its limitless meaning yours. So when you repeat it over and over and over again, that joy becomes part of you. And the words have an embodiment of thoughts, and thoughts is created either neither good nor bad, simply creative. So whatever thought you have with it, good or bad, that's what you associate with it. And she says here, this is the reason why faith builds up and fear destroys. So when you only believe that all things are possible to you, then you're building up your faith. And that faith gives you the ability to attract to yourself what you need and to go out and do the things you need to do because you believe it's going to happen. You see, when there's no belief, if you have a desire, but you don't believe inside of you it's going to happen, remember, it's the subconscious mind that controls your action. So even though consciously this is what you want, subconsciously it's saying this is never going to happen. You won't go out and do the action because the action will seem fruitless. It will seem like it doesn't matter what you do, it's never going to happen. You have to change your thoughts first. You have to start to believe that's going to happen. You have to start to seeing it happen. And more importantly, you have to become that person that it's already happened to. So let's say you want to start your own business. And maybe you've tried it before and it didn't work. So that's the predominant thought in your memory. One of your intellectual faculties is how it didn't work, right? And in your subconscious mind, maybe you're saying, yeah, who do you think you are that this is going to work again? You've tried it in the past, it didn't work for whatever reason. Doesn't matter what happened in the past. So you come to this new idea, okay, I want to start this business. But you have those memories and you have those feelings that it's not going to work. As long as that's the part in your subconscious, consciously, you may desire to have this big flowing business, but you haven't gotten that into your subconscious. You haven't become the person that owns a big business, or maybe even a moderate sized business. You have to start seeing yourself with your team. Who's working with you? Who's working for you? Where are the clients coming from? Are you making those calls? Do you see yourself making those calls? Do you see yourself dealing with those clients? Do you see yourself moving in that direction? Because as long as you see yourself doing nothing, nothing's going to happen. You have to become the person. You have to become that person of that successful business, raking in all that money. And then when you become that person, you see you've switched and now you're aligned. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions are going to be in line and as praxis. So back to Genevieve. Faith gives you dominion over every adverse circumstance or condition. If your word of faith that sets you free, not faith in a specific thing or act, but simple faith is your best self in all ways, is because ever-present creative power within the heart of the word that makes your health, your peace, your mind, your financial condition a reproduction of the most habitual thought. It's the thoughts you think, the words you say, the actions you do. Most people think they have to do something different. They have to, start a new social media page. They need to start this. They need to start that. They need to, have a big, long to-do list. You have to change you first. That's the most important thing. That's why investing in your own personal development, investing in a mentor, investing in a coach, investing your team in learning to be on the same page is so vital. And these are things that I do with clients all the time. And it's vital because you are the best investment you can make. Now, some people say it's stocks. Some people will say it's, the best investment is in real estate. Those are great investments, but the best investment ever is the investment you make in you. Because you can change your world and you can change your results by developing mental toughness and by developing the attributes the top performers and top producers utilize all the time. So in the next chapter, she talks about how to increase your faith because, okay, now we've learned faith is the key because if I allow fear to step in, I destroy the things I've already built and it sets me back. So, that one step forward, two steps back, that's what you're doing. So you move forward one step, but now you're afraid of something and back you go two steps. And then you move forward one step, but then you go back two steps. So by the time you're done doing that, you're worse than where you started, right? Or at least back to the same spot. So we have to figure out, how do we increase our faith? Well, she says, every living thing has faith in something or somebody. There are things you have faith in. There are things that you know you can do without a shadow of a doubt. Why? Because you've done them over and over again. So if you develop faith in some things, then you can develop faith in other things. If you've done one thing well, you can do another thing well. I may have shared this story in a previous show, but it's an important lesson to learn. So when I started, working on computers and started my business, as a matter of fact, and started doing things, I felt like I wasn't very tech savvy. And so I would sometimes ask my daughter, who had somewhat of a technology major in college, and I'd ask her for help. And her idea of helping was to do it for me. Well, that didn't help me, but I was too slow because I'd want to write everything down and watch every step she was doing and write it down so I'd remember. And she just wanted to do it. Sometimes I would ask my husband, how do you do this? How do you do that? Well, it's funny how the tables turn. Because what I started to realize, and those of you who are a little bit on that edge of not feeling like you're very tech savvy and you can't do technology, which I often hear from people, no, learn one thing. Learn one thing. And then go learn something new. And so what I've learned is every time I have to learn a new software, every time I have to learn a new social media, I may not like it. And I guarantee you there's some of those things I do not like to do. But what I know is that once I've learned one thing, I can learn anything because I've done it before. So I have faith in me. I don't go to my daughter or to my husband anymore to ask for help. Now, sometimes I'll ask help from my coach that's supposed to help me, or somebody that knows a piece of software and can help me quicker than what it would take me to learn myself. So I do still ask questions, and I think that's always a good thing to do. My point is, I have faith that I can do it. 5-10 years ago, I didn't have that faith. But when you step out and do, then you learn that you can do things. So that's what she's talking about. You see, we have faith in something. We have faith in something that we do have the ability to do. So if we have faith in one thing, we can have faith in another thing. Is the quality of the creative energy in the positive faith thought, which gives it vitality, not the form it takes. So it's a thought. It's the idea. The form will come to you. Even intense fear is alive with faith. Think about that one. Even intense fear is alive with faith. If we're allowed to fear something, that intense fear is part of your faith. Recently, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was telling me a story about somebody she knew. And as she was telling the story, I thought, they're sitting around in fear. They're allowing fear to keep them from doing things that they would enjoy doing. That's faith in fear. You fear poverty and loneliness because you believe them possible for you. So if you fear being in poverty, then you believe you can be in poverty. One way to get around that is to think. One of my son's coaches coached him in basketball and baseball. If the kids would lose, he'd say, "This is the worst thing that happens to you today. It's been a pretty good day." And that's a very good motto to live by. But sometimes when people are fearing poverty, I get them to think, okay, do you ever believe you'll be homeless? And usually they'll say no. Do you ever believe you won't have a paycheck or some money coming in? And again, many of them will say no. Then stop thinking about it. Stop allowing that fear of not having enough money to control you. You've already said, I don't ever see myself being homeless. I don't ever see myself without having any money. I may not have the money I want. They may say that, but they don't ever see themselves just at rock bottom with no place to live and no money to buy food. So then dismiss that from your mind. Quit thinking of being in poverty. It is your habitual tendency of thought that reappears in your mind, your body, and your affairs, not the occasional thought upon some specific line or desire. So it's those ones that you keep repeating over and over and over again that are going to get into your mind, not the ones that just go fleeting by. So it is the faith which understands that every creation had its birth in the womb of thought. Isn't that a beautiful way to put it? Every creation had its birth in the womb of thought. Observation of your state of consciousness when you did not, when you hoped you might, but feared it was too good to be true. So she wants to protect you from that. Don't allow those things to come into your mind. The observation of your state of consciousness. Think about what you're thinking about. When you did not, when you hoped you might, but feared it was too good to be true. What was your state of consciousness? How did you feel that time when you simply had to bring yourself into a better frame of mind and did, or you had to have a certain thing and got it? How did you feel? Think of how your consciousness was. And then she says, live these experiences over again and again and again mentally until you really feel in touch with the self that knows and does. And the best there is you. So we just have to start to believe in ourselves, to keep the thoughts of what we want in our mind, to keep that fear away, and then repeat it over and over and over again. And when good things happen, roll that image through your mind over and over like a movie that you're seeing over and over again. So then she goes on about how the reward of increased faith, what happens when you expand your faith and work with the laws dealing with faith in the universe. Your conscious realization that you are not a victim of the universe, but are part of it. Boy, that's a really important one today. We hear so many people talk about victim mentality. There is a victim mentality. And if you allow yourself to be a victim, you're never going to have the success that you desire. Success isn't built by people giving things to you. Success is built by who you become. That's why it's almost dangerous to give somebody something. You know, even in the Bible, Jesus said, you can give a person a fish, or you can teach them how to fish. Which is better? It's not giving them something. Giving them something will provide them for the now. If you teach them how, you're providing them for a lifetime. Because then they can do for themselves. You know, you think of a lot of lottery winners, and they say that vast majority of lottery winners go bankrupt or lose all their earnings in a very short amount of time. Even ones that win millions, because they make poor investments. They give it away. They spend it on things that they shouldn't. And before they know it, they're right back where they were before. Why is it? It's because they got something they weren't the person they needed to be. And then you have other lottery winners, which maybe are the person they need to be. And they're able to keep that winning lottery. But the vast majority of them do not. And that's why there's a time for sowing and a time for reaping. There's a time for sowing because you have to learn things about what you need to do. You have to learn things about who you are first. And then you can start reaping the rewards. But you have to become the person first. You have to change and transform who you are to get that desire. So within yourself, which is able to make conscious contact with the universal principle and law and power, and enables you to press all the particular laws of nature, whether visible or invisible, into serving your particular demand or desire. And thereby you find yourself master, not slave of any situation. Isn't it beautiful? You become the master of your soul. And there's a very famous poem about that. You know, you become the master. You have that ability to change who you are. Nobody can change it for you. Knowledge of the personal element of universal spirit and its reciprocity to your own personality. In other words, the words you think, the personality you feel yourself to be, are all reproductions in miniature or specialized God or universal spirit. All your word thought and your word forms become before they were yours. So we have these ideas, we have these words and thoughts, and they come before we become the person we need to be. The words you use are the instrument channels through which the creative energy takes shape. So you have to have those words, you have to have those thoughts, and that creative energy, which is all-encompassing and is in every space of the universe, is there for you. That energy is there for you. Naturally, the sensitive creative power can only reproduce in accordance with the instrument through which it passes. All disappointments and failures are the result of endeavoring to think one thing and produce another. Here she brings that whole idea back. You can't think one way and then do something different that's an opposite. It's never going to work that way. And we heard that from this other book too. So it's impossible. She said, just as it's impossible for an electric fan to be used for lighting purposes, or for water to flow through a crooked pipe in a straight line. It's also impossible for you to think one way in your conscious mind and a different way in your subconscious mind and think you're going to get the result. So, as a man thinketh, so is he. When your thought or word form is in correspondence with the eternal construct and forward movement of the universal law, then your mind is the mirror in which the infinite power and intelligence of the universe sees itself reproduced, and your individual life becomes one of harmony. Isn't that beautiful? So all we have to do is to align ourselves, praxis, where we see ourselves and we become the person we need to be. And when we do that, everything will come towards us. But we must think on a conscious level and have the belief on a subconscious level, because remember, the subconscious controls your actions. If you want to learn more about this, please reach out to me. I would love to talk with you and give you a free consultation and, see where maybe you're getting stuck, what parts you need help with. Maybe it's your business. Maybe you have a team of people that you work with, and we can work with them to get everybody working on the same page. Because in any business, when people are working in the same way and in the same page, the results skyrocket. This is Patricia Stepler with Your Inside Power. I want you to be the magic in your dreams.